So this is Zanzibar. Not sure if you can see clearly, but the culture here, in some places, they are using waste as compost. They just put them in the landfill, in the field where there is a banana and many other crops. And then when they see crops, you know, the greenery of the crops growing very well, they say, wow, this is good. So I took this picture in Zanzibar. So a lot of plastic, as the expert was saying about the microplastics, yeah, and many other damages. The soil is also being damaged. This is a Pugu dam site in Dar es Salaam. So you can see when the truck goes there, also people, waste pickers now, going around the truck, they're also picking the valuable materials. So, you know, this is what you throw in your trash bin or in your paper, yeah, in your trash bags from your landfill, and that landfill. And this is normal in many places. And sometimes you cannot even, you know, stay like 1 minute or 2 minutes. The smell, the smoke, and many other things. This is Dandora, Nairobi. I had the opportunity to take all these pictures. So I was there last year, and it's similar approach in many countries. Waste is taken to the dump site, mixed, and there people are making a living. Like we have done recent registration in Pugu. There are more than, according to our data, there are more than 574 people going to the dump site to collect the materials and go and sell. Those are the data that we have recorded during our registration. Per day, actually, there are more than, they're saying according to the statistics, almost 800 people accessing that landfill. And according to our data as well, there are people who have spent more than 30 to 40 years working in this area. So you can imagine all the health damages. Yeah. So I think you can do a research to understand the impact, you know, of the time. And some people were not even married by the time they entered this facility, but now they are married, they have children. Even the children have also, you know, gotten children, so they are, you know, babus and babies. This is more women, the Moret dam site in Arusha. Almost 90%, they are women's. Yeah? Yes, madam? Karibu. These are recent pictures. This one was taken this year by our team in Arusha, because we were doing waste pickers registration, and the waste picker survey. These are recent pictures. The Pugu picture, the Dandora picture is last year. I was in Nairobi. This year, Pugu Nyamwezi is this year. Ele this year, as well as Zanzibar is last year. Yes. So, yeah. So you can imagine your act. Yeah. And the bigger difference you can do. If you can do it right, you can stop the, you know, upstream, you know, challenges, you know, downstream challenges. So, to deepen it further, you know, we are the elite, yeah, yeah, mostly we are the elite. So we know which is growing. We understand there's almost open burning in many places of waste. We also, the statistics tell us that almost less than 50% of the waste is recovered. So even with all efforts we are doing right now, less than 50% is recovered, and not only recovered, actually is taken to the dump sites. Yeah, and we almost don't have data for what is recovered and taken back to the economy. because most of the officers, they're not much focusing on one, and they don't have data. And that's why also we have also invested in that space where we can now have data of what is being recovered and taken to the economy, so that we see the value, and we can even invest much effort in that space. So like if it's Southern West speakers, how much are they returning to the economy? And what is the impact in the health, in the environment, and many other things? So, and everyone can attest, there is also low community motivation to segregate, because most of us are saying once we segregate, the garbage collector will come and motivation goes down, because you don't see the effort, you don't see the infrastructure to do those kind of but again, you Dar es Salaam is crazy. Tanga, at least there are some areas where you can put skips, I think there, but there are some cities, I'm not sure about Nairobi, if there's I know the law which they have already passed, they are promoting material recovery facility, at near is also a challenge because of the way material are mixed. Quality challenges in safety, financial issues, and there is a stigma around Wakota Taka, and that's why we're also promoting that group. And that's why we're also, training today. Also, we're also discussing how to promote that. Or is it too much informal, or we have not put more effort to understand that that sector, and how can we, make them bankable? So there is low credit reference around that space. But how much are they bringing to the economy? We need to understand and see how we can support them. Of course, the existing solution we have right now, there are these paper. Is the business municipal watu wa license biashara? Is it the environment officer? So sometimes you might tell them, oh, go away, you are making the city becoming dirty because of your struggle. They can recover more waste. Can you encourage them? Can you motivate them? It is being deteriorated, then you cannot recover almost 90%. Like the bottle here, if it's dirty, well mixed with almost contaminated, it's difficult to recover the contents, 100%. Even to turn them to support the expenditures we have in our households and offices as well. So I wanted to go through what we have in our cities, in our communities, so that we understand the magnitude of the challenges. These are fewer. We have more challenges as well. people in Dar es Salaam, if some people knows Doubletree, near Doubletree there was a center where people are bring waste, and it has been there for like 10 years plus. Now that center has already been taken by the municipal. It has been fenced, and no one can now dispose the waste there, recyclable materials. So what does it mean? As the cities grows, so like when we are planning, we are not million tons of plastic being produced, thrown away every year. 50 million tons of electronic waste, almost 1.1 one third of all food produced in Atupwa. Yeah, so we creating a circular economy offers almost 4.5 trillion dollars an economic opportunity. So this is a worldwide, according to the statistics. So or Dar es Salaam or Tanzania or Nairobi or Kenya in general, the other countries. So looks like we have huge opportunity which we need to so this kilogram per capita per day. Yeah, so sometimes in kama vile tunazalisha karibu kilo tu ya taka kila siku kwa mtu, so you can imagine baada ya muda itakuwa ngapi. Lakini urban areas is not collected, and most of domestic waste which account to about 60% of the total solid waste generated daily is disposed of by burning or burying. Tunachimba mashimo sana, tunachoma sana, kwa sababu tunaona ndo njia ya ku get rid ya garbage ambayo tunatengeneza. So also these are the statistics which I shared earlier. So these are the fewer impact. Yeah, frustration. Plastiki, it is obvious. I've seen this even like 10 to 20 years wakati tunachinja mbuzi akula, you see plastic inside. What na nyingi zaidi na microplastic, sio hivyo? Kwa we are doing, and this is not just pictures, it's the reality of our actions, and what even the animals we they cannot say acha simami, acha usifanye hivyo. They are suffering because they don't have voice. But we have the voice, hands, legs. We are making decisions. We can make the legislations. We can so yeah. Oh yeah. Okay, so I'll also proceed later. So how has it been? Are we reflecting well? Are we thinking that we can change our ways? So Julia, karibu. Asante sana. Thank you.
I especially from household. The waste are generated from a household, and sometimes you find there is no, even ourselves, elite group, we don't have such infrastructure to disaggregate the waste. My brother here mentioned about pharmaceutical. When you look at the infrastructure or the equipment provided the household, they give you one. You put everything, plastic, pharmaceutical, everything. That is what it cuts across all the household, and you have no way to disaggregate. That has been a common challenge. Then, of course, you mentioned about when the dump site, those infrastructure don't exist. So I wanted to, if you could also highlight what has been done maybe from other country, and what are the incentive for the household also to disaggregate the waste. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question, and that's why we have the presentation. So within the presentation now you'll see what has happened in other countries. But again, sometimes the infrastructure within your household and the infrastructure like after segregating waste from a household, where do you take them? Is there a transfer station? Is there a countries? Then after that, where are those waste taken? Are they taken straight to the landfill, or they are taken to the recovery facility? So the easy way is to manage the infrastructure within your household. And of course, you might not need expensive bins. You can have your bucket, which you have maybe used for mafuta ya kupikia or for omo. You use it to do the segregation. You can have only two kind of segregation. One is wet and one is dry. So the dry, the wet or the dry. So you give the so at the beginning, as other countries are doing right now. And then you are living at these mansions, and you don't have the garden. Can you do the compost? So you sort it like through bin system, give it, and you can tell them, return my bag because this is dry, so no contamination. So those we are very and being taken. So we need to now shift in the yes. Yeah. Exactly. Mm. Yeah. Yeah. Sure. You
we have business environment level. So since you are a business council, we wanted to focus a bit more on the actual business. What can your business do? What can you do as a business community to actually reduce waste? Which basically challenges the way we have been doing business and we have been thinking about business. It thinks about renting or leasing out items instead of, transferring ownership. So instead of me buying a washing machine, for example, I am leasing the washing machine so that actually the company who has sold the washing machine to me takes care of the maintenance of the washing machine. That leases service the water dispenser, and the water dispenser has an inbuilt filter. We have also reduced the waste because they wanahakikisha kwa it's maintained well. So mimi pia economy is the way we actually, deploy models in our thinking. A linear model in the economy. We'll share this presentation with you so that you see the pictures clearly. So the linear model is really you. Okay, how can we use and reuse so that possible retain the value of the materials is almost the last thing that should be happening. First of all, we should think about how do we reduce waste. Na nimefurahi sana kumsikia engineer Omari wakati anasema kwamba anajaribu kupunguza ile taka ambayo akifanya cutting, kwanza ana minimize cutting ambayo anayo. Na hala ambayo minimize as closely as possible to the cycle. Then from there now we can think about reusing. We can think about reusing glass bottles. Yeah, we can reuse our bottles of beer. We can reuse our bottles of wine. But also then we can recycle the Coca-Cola. The PetPro has been doing very good efforts in regards to the EPR regulations, and that is things that we should be doing when it comes about circularity. So we have to minimize the environmental impact. So the key also our neighboring countries in the East African community, we have committed to the Sustainable Development Goals. And when it comes to zero waste, we look in particular on the goal number 13 and 14. And bio 13 is about climate change, and 14 is about life underwater. And life underwater is very important here kwa sababu kama Engineer Ellen alikuwa anasema kwamba most of the time we see the effects of the pollution on our maritime animals. You saw the picture of the whale, it was full of taka. You saw the picture of the birds that live near the water. They are affected by this. But also recently, I'm sorry I didn't follow a lot for the other countries, but I know our president, she was very vocal and very active at COP27, and she committed, to making sure is to also make sure we reduce the waste that we produce. But now why is it relevant for us as a business community? It's relevant for us as a business community because if we implement circular business models, our business becomes more sustainable, and it becomes more sustainable in the long run. it will also reduce the cost for production material. For example, in Dar es Salaam, I saw a factory that is producing pipes. What and they use that material to actually produce the pipe. It is much more efficient for them to do so and much more cost efficient. So thinking about your raw material, whether you can actually utilize recycled raw material, it becomes, even from a business perspective, more profitable. You can, if you deploy circular economy models, you can reduce your waste management cost, because otherwise waste management cost is significantly high, as also Engineer Mari was saying. If he thinks about how much waste management cost he has to reduce from the source. He shouldn't produce so much waste, so that also at the end he doesn't need to pay so much waste for leadership, and showing the way for the business community in East Africa. You guys are the top businesses within the East African community, so you should be showing, okay, businesses in our countries, how should they be operating to really be sustainable? Yeah, and of course, because as East African Community Business Council, you are also, compliant in some way or the other to some of the national treaties, regional treaties, global treaties and agreements that are there, but also to comply with local regulations that are in place. So, for example, in Tanzania, we have the Extended Producer Responsibility Regulation, which the government is going to increase enforcement with this year. And we have seen the Coca-Cola company, the Pepsi company, and form something called PET Pro, which basically deals in the purpose of that company is to see how can they recycle the bottles that are being produced. And that's one of the, I would say, it's one of the example EPR projects that we have in Tanzania. It's very interesting. If you have time, you can Google it. And they have gone off to a good start, I would say. There are still things to do, but wameanza, and they are on the right track. Yeah, so the zero waste, for the zero waste agenda, the zero waste agenda is part of what it means to be a circular economy. So but we also want to move from the recycling where we currently are to a circularity, and something that it becomes easier for us, for example, to replace parts. If you produce, for example, an electronic device, and I cannot exchange individual parts of that electronic device, it means that I have to throw away the entire device by the time it's no longer usable. So from the time I'm making something, from the time I'm producing something, how well can I actually exchange individual parts within that? So by the time we make, we have to think about the waste it produces in the end. The same comes to the time when we, so how far can we repair? How far can we reuse? Yes, I might have bought this laptop, I do no longer want to use it. I don't need to throw it away. So either somebody within my family, somebody within my friend cycle, or I can just resell it so that it can be reused multiple times. But also we can think about now recycling. How do we recycle either the individual parts of the product, or how do we, change the form of the product the way it's done with the PET bottles. But it could also be changing the business model, okay? It could be changing the business model. If I say changing the business model, Confano, if we live in, most of us, we do live in cities. If we live in Kampala, if we live in Nairobi, Kigali, or Dar es Salaam, most of the time, ukiwa na gari kwanza unachukia, si ndio? Because isn't it? So leasing models for cars have become very popular. For example, in Europe itself, you don't own the car, but whenever you need a car, you can actually access that car and you can utilize it for the particular event. And that way we share the resources. So instead of one person owning a car, now we suddenly become 20 people owning the same car. Contribute significantly to the production of waste. But kwenye agriculture, there are examples for that, but I'll come to agriculture for the precise examples as we go. So, engineer, so to now go through, okay, what achieve some circularity within your business models.
Asante Julia. Kiswahili kimenyooka sana kuliko cha kwangu na wengine. Sawa. So one of the strategies again to be able to achieve the circular economy or circularity in your business. So it's like going back to the basics. Wakati anasema about sharing a car. Unajua kipindi cha nyuma kidogo tulikuwa tuna share mpaka sufuria. Leo you are not cooking, so you azima the sufuria to another neighbor for cooking. Jamani, hamjakutana na hiyo? Even you give the neighbor to cook because today you're not cooking. So what with laptops, you don't have to come with your own laptops. So you go there, you work, you finish, you go back home. So like sharing the resources. Not sure about sharing plates and spoons. So linear economy to a circular economy. There see my slide. Sasa sijui nifanyeje. But can you see this one? Okay. So this is the famous diagram. Ukisoma mambo ya takataka au unataka kusolve issues za waste, this is the famous one. So normal we don't want waste. Yeah, we don't want to generate waste. It's like we prevent, and prevent is something that tunaongea maeneo mengi. Prevent the accident kutokea, prevent the of water. There seal iko on top, lakini the seal isn't recyclable. The seal Asante kwa hiyo makofi. Hapo na kura nyingi. So, the waste from the design. So hata ndizi. So naturally, nature doesn't give us a ndizi with a label. So we put the label. We are the waste. So the thinking. So when you want to reduce, these are the need to design out waste. You don't using less hazardous materials. Sisi tunamiliki iPhone. 2 years yenyewe tu after 2 years five years 10 years nimpatie na mwingine. So those are the thinkings that we need to adopt. Similarly to our operations. Yeah. Why do we have, how can we, if we are now moving to a digital economy, how can we get rid of Weka voucher, scratch, and then Weka voucher? You see, our social, engagement or our social interaction, those are the thinking. Because you save a lot of cost. Like the seal I'm talking to you. Probably of distribution, how much damage it has caused to the environment, and it's just a seal at the top. So then you go for preparation for use. So can we reuse? And now the issue of durability, comfortability. Can we refurbish? Can we repair it? Yeah. So, is this bottle recyclable? Now there is a lot of maneno about the color bottles, colored bottles, about the recyclability of those color bottles, the content, the quality, and many other things. So, what are we putting to the environment, to the consumers, and can they be recyclable? Like, there's now more of a non-returnable glass bottles. Are they recyclable? So what effort do we do to be able to recycle material? What effort are we doing to increase the recycling content in the packaging materials? Can we change them to another? Then could be going for energy, like what Sweden is doing. Sweden, they're saying they are the master of what did we say? Is it recycling? Green economy. Yes, they are the master, but mostly they are taking away the resources, burning the resources, depleting resources to make energy, the waste energy. Yes, it is good, removing the garbages around our environment, but do we see it as a long-lasting solution with the challenge with the resources we have? So when you are now thinking about the proposals, the projects, what are the prompt us to make better decisions. But again, the last result is all the pictures there ambao tumeona kule. So this is the hierarchy of waste waste recovery, or as you are moving towards the circular economy. So now so this part, yeah, is now saying that it's more of a linear, yeah, produce, use, throw, yeah. Here also you see waste pickers in the from the garbage that has been thrown, and it is a linear, yes, but again they are going to recover useful materials. And what are those useful materials used for? They are used for recycling. So they are taken back as a raw material for recycling. So some materials. So be used now for other purposes. But again, lifespan, yeah. There are a number of options. There is repurpose, yeah. Use the product or part in a new product with different function. So you can remanufacture, meaning you use the parts in new product with same function. So if you can do a remanufacture of the laptop, or you can do, there's one company which is doing a remanufacturing of a toner using HP. So they collect HP toner and then they do a remanufacturing. They make the toner but with different brand. So they're using the parts of HP because to do a remanufacturing. So can you refurb it? Can you restore? Yeah? Can you update? So is it made to update the system? Or ile system ya nyuma ni hiyo ya nyuma, no way to update the system. So unaona kwamba teknolojia mpya imekuja, ile nyingine ni ya zamani, kwa hiyo we need to throw away. So repair, is it repairable? Tunanunua Toyota, why? Kwa sababu pia it's easy to repair, sio hivyo? Nyingine vipuri kupatikana, nightmare. Yeah? Lakini reuse, can the product be reused? Yeah? More time and time. So going to circularity, to a linear circular economy. So that's the smartest way. You make sure the product is smarter and use smarter for use, as well as it's smarter during the manufacturing. So here actually we will adopt the concept of reduce, of course, consume less through efficient manufacture or use. So you make sure that there are no more or less waste, less materials, or less raw material used during the manufacturing. But again, you adopt rethink, make the product use more intensive, or make more intensive, that the product can be used more. But again, sharing, as well as you check also in the manufacturing of the product, that the product doesn't get damaged most of the time. So like you use now, but there is some manufacturing, so you malfunctioning, so you cannot use it later. So you take away those kind of issues. Again, refuse is make the product redundant, abandon function and use different product. So it's like product is the product can you see, make a product redundant. It's yeah, okay. Julia will give an example, good example.
So one of the good examples, and charger with the iPhone. So that people who now purchase a phone, we had a phone before. So for the phone that we have. The charger. You for our phone, then for our laptop, for any device that we use on a daily basis. So produce with a USB-C charger. Yeah, so you know we have reduced waste because of that, because we don't no longer need to purchase and new charger for each new phone that is being produced. So and we reduce the waste that we're creating from design by designing the same charger. I can use this charger to charge my phone. I can use this charger to charge my laptop. Book or whatever, we can all use the same charger. So
much. So so these are the actions that you need to be doing in your business. So you need to be able to redesign the current model to a better model, and by doing that, design littering more waste to the environment is the product. Are you able also to take back the product, you know, for whether for recycling or whether for you reusing or any other kind of and for this one, let's assume there is a law, yeah, the EPR law or the take back regulations or the take back act. So to the environment. So that's why design for the future is that you design in a manner that doesn't litter the environment, but also gives an opportunity to be able to recover the materials or other people to recover the materials for the use. But again, production life cycle. But again, so it's like, are you designing Or will you use fossil fuel, then you come to use renewable energy? Or you can design to use renewable energy at the beginning and you don't focus on the fossil fuel. So again, process where if you use, let's assume you have used the industrial fertilizer in your soil. So what are you going to do to recover the natural nutrients in that soil? So are you using the industrial fertilizer, or you are going to use the organic fertilizer? So it's like thinking of a way that you are moving towards more of a renewable kind of a system, rather than using more of products or raw materials that can need to be extracted every time. So you prioritize the pine. So if you go for pine, that means is it the pine or the hardwood, the gum? When you cut it, it will also grow it again, so you can it will regenerate. So are you moving to that direction, or you just cut it and then you maybe to promote more of a regenerative kind of approach? So again, you think about paper. If you are using waste paper, paper in your industry. So can you reduce the number of paper you are using in your office? So it's like thinking about the business. So initially, distribution, are you having an opportunity to reduce waste in each line? So thinking about the business model. So if in your office, if everyone owns a car, okay, fine. So, and everyone has to travel maybe 5 to maybe 10 or 20 kilometers. Is there from those kilometers, maybe 100 people come to office with everyone with their own car, and come with one car? That also saves a lot of energy and and cost, of course, time as well. So the more of accommodative. Again, technology. Can you adopt technology? As I was saying, maybe moving from caddies, scratch card, moving to digital top-up. Yeah, is it possible? Or are you having archive ambayo ni makaratasi inabidi uje uchome? Is also pioneer in this movement, like the eGov. Yeah, so moving towards so that's kind of digital technology. So incorporating digital technology to achieve circular economy. But again, collaborate to create joint value, as what Julia was saying. It's like collaborating. Could be like the could be from the leather to make other products. So can we collaborate in the same line rather than throw away? And this also can help again. Can we now use waste as a resource, or are we seeing waste as waste, as earlier said? Do waste? Yeah. So preserve and extend what already made. So tunajua tunakaa na redio ya Mkolo ya kipindi cha miaka 40 mpaka sasa na redio ya National. Yeah, preserve. Yeah. So when you want to do a shift, these are the things that you need to put into consideration. And we'll learn more of this through workshop, because we're going to also share it. So the life cycle. So what is the plan now? I think we'll also share this presentation. Yeah, so we'll also share this presentation. So there's the or whatever the champion organization proposing an idea that addresses recycling needs. So proposing an idea, we want to get rid of lot of so it's like proposing the idea, and then you need to propose a plan now. It's like a working group now. Propose a plan. So the plan that will either help you to come up with actions. Yeah. What are the actions need to be done? Yeah. And those actions we'll also think about what will be the outcomes, of the actions that you have already planned. So then once you have a draft, you release the new action in the life cycle. So you now put it into an implementation. Yeah. Then from the action to outputs, so it's like kick off the efforts with action, team collaboration. So like it's a teamwork. It's not about like a one-man show. It's a teamwork in the organization. Again, you need to be able to communicate the progress, the action, yielding results. Or are we frustrated? Because some of the progress, even a little achievement is a good achievement. So we need to celebrate each achievement that we are getting. You need to complete the efforts and highlighting the accomplishments, the impacts and potential future activities. So it's like with a team, you also need to discuss about what are the efforts you have done, what are the impacts, and what are the potential future activities. And then you need also to share the information and resources generated for others to learn. So we'll learn more about this during the workshop. But if you want to start to achieve the circular economy approach in your organization, so this is a good tool to use. Then Julia will take us through the other slides.
So just very precisely, because it's Zero Waste Day, there are a few things that you can do specifically to actually reduce waste within your organization. So apart from rethinking your entire business model, which would be the move towards circularity, you can also implement some waste. So basically the first is really to rethink how you can eliminate the waste and how you can eliminate the pollution that you cause as a company. So sit down, discuss with your teams how can you do that and how can you mitigate the kind of waste that you create. So one of the things is usually to show to people how much waste they actually create. One of the things that really works very well, for example, if you have a company and you print, a lot of people print a lot. Leave alone the fact, it's unnecessary to print some of those things. So what the printers can do that, you introduce a system that basically shows who has printed what. If Julia in the printer mean it will help you to reduce cost, operational cost, but at the same time it will save and create less waste. Okay, it's one very easy way. So you basically showcase, okay, this is what people be doing. It's also about pollution, yeah. As also Engineer Mari was saying, we have other pollution that is also waste in other words, yeah. The other thing you can do is you can encourage people that are, for example, using public transport, or people that come to work maybe with their bicycle. Is something that is more upcoming. You can see more people nowadays also, using public transport or come with their bicycle. We incentivize fuel for cars in our companies, but we do not incentivize the person coming with the bicycle. Why not? Or is the person who's helping us now, Safi, fuel to the senior manager, wakati the fuel is more damaging to the environment. So think about what could be done, you know. We can your production cycle to make sure that you keep on reusing different components and materials. Is so important is because of what we saw yesterday. This is a picture of the truck that we threw our collected rubbish in yesterday. Okay, if you look at this picture closely, you will see different type of waste. There's bio waste. We have plastic waste, which is like plastic wrappings, but the challenge comes that if you can segregate the waste and separate the waste, and then come to an agreement either with your municipal or with individual waste pickers, or from your office. Usually it is possible. The same way, if you live in an apartment building, the guys who manage your apartment building, they should be in a position to request the specific service from the respective authority. And lastly, of course, when it comes to waste, we have already produced so much waste, we have already degraded so much of our nature. So the last part is also just to regenerate some of the nature that we have already destroyed. So for example, if whatever you are doing has a negative impact on the original nature that was there, then try find ways to regenerate some of the nature that has been destroyed by either activities that you are carrying out as a company. And unfortunately, you know, in most of East Africa, agriculture is the backbone of our economies. And agriculture is one of the activities that actually destroys nature significantly, because we transform from the way a certain area looked like to now an agricultural area. So that being said, we have to rethink also the ways we are performing agriculture. And just going to give you two brief examples. Later on, as we do the workshop, also play a video for one of them, and you can watch it later on your own time, in the interest of time. But basically, when we think about the agricultural sector and we think about waste management in the agricultural sector, we have to think regenerative agriculture or agroforestry. Now that means that we have to fundamentally change the way we operate our fields. That means instead of competing with nature, we should partner with nature. Instead of disturbing the soil, we should protect the soil. We should encourage diversity instead of monoculture, and we should think holistically instead of just on the specific crop that we want to plant. Agroforestry, and we have seen successful models of integrated agriculture and regenerative agriculture around Africa. And in the video there's a link here, as you see. We'll show that video later, but I'll just give you an example or two examples here. One of the examples is in West Africa, in Ghana. They have been able to intercrop palm oil with cocoa. The palm provides a shade, okay? You can produce proper palm oil out of that. And the cocoa can grow in the shade because it doesn't require direct sunlight. It actually grows better under a bit of shade. And what it does is that the cocoa helps to retain some of the nutrients into the ground, because usually the palm oil is very acidic, so it takes out most of the nutrients from the ground. So by intercropping the two plants, you are basically retaining the soil quality. At the same time, you are improving the growth of the cocoa. For the palm, it doesn't really make a difference whether there's a cocoa down there, but of course the soil end of the day, and you can still be able to harvest quite easily, because both of them, none of them is really ground, a ground plant, but both of them are tree type of plants, so you can still harvest the way people grow in Kenya. There are a couple of agroforestry plants in the video that I've linked here. You will see that example. So basically what they do is they intercrop. So they have fruit trees, larger trees, could be mango trees, could be avocado trees, and then they have other horticulture crops on the ground, and they utilize small animals such as chicken to basically walk through the farms, controlled walking through the farms. So literally you control the way the chicken moves through your farm, and then basically that helps in picking up some of the unnecessary items on the ground, but at the same time the chicken itself produces the manure for the crops that you require. And these are systems that work very well, that have worked very well, and they are very and highly sustainable. Another one that really is a good example for creating waste, using waste and creating value, is the interchange between coffee and mushrooms. So in coffee, we have certain waste products throughout the coffee production itself, okay? So in this case, you're not intercropping, but you're utilizing the waste product that is produced in coffee production to basically create a business model for mushroom production. So you've basically killed two birds with one stone. You have A, reduced your waste from the coffee production, and B, created a new business model and value chain that actually also supports nutrition creation. So what happens is that products of the coffee can be sterilized. Ideally, that's done by utilizing solar energy or wind, and then the substrate that is remaining is used for mushroom production. This has actually been done, and it's also been done in Tanzania and in Uganda as well. So what happens is that you grow the mushrooms from the substrate of the coffee. It looks a bit funny because it looks like bags that just grow mushrooms, but these mushrooms are completely organic. They have a lot of nutrition, and it is a very clean way to grow, and you can actually grow on a very small area because you can do vertical farming. You can put those bags on vertical shelves and then do vertical farming with those bags. And then what happens is, obviously after sometimes the bag nutrients is exhausted, So what can be done is you can now recompost that and then reuse it again as fertilizer for the coffee plant. So you can create a cycle between the coffee and the mushroom in itself. And this has been tried and has been working effectively within the East African community. And this is a way where you can really see how you can utilize waste to create high organic value products. Because you know the price of mushroom. It's not a low-end product, isn't it? Yani kununua uyoga is very expensive, isn't it? So basically, you're really creating high value products out of actual waste that was created there. So that's why if we're saying agriculture, waste management, or if we're saying zero waste in agriculture, it's about how do we design. So first of all, it's about how do we design the way we farm to reduce waste and to reduce matumizi ya chemicals within the agricultural process. But at the same time, it's also about, okay, if we have waste, how can we use that waste effectively kuongeza thamani, yeah, to increase value, to do value addition within our agricultural production cycles. So these are just two examples so that you get an idea what, if we say circularity in agriculture, that's what we mean. That's what we should be aspiring for. Of course, this is different depending on what you produce, depending on what you farm. This can differ. But the good thing is there are usually examples from somewhere around the world, most of the time even from within Africa, where we can learn from our neighbors, or we can even learn from within our country to see, okay, how have people utilized all the different products of a plant, or how have people tried to intercrop to basically minimize damages on the nature and reduce waste towards the nature. Okay, I'm now giving back to Engineer Ellen for the application in the manufacturing sector.
Thank you, Julian. Tuko pamoja wote bado? Okay, thanks so much. So I'll give an example of the manufacturing sector. Not sure if there are people from the sugar industry here. Watu wa TPC wako hapa? Kilombero, so you understand. Yes, yes. Karibu.
Where you mentioned of the technology that is existing regarding to paper waste, which is also a very bad waste from our offices, and you mentioned of if there was a technology to determine who is using what, who is doing what. That technology, I suppose, already exists. I remember from the ESC since 2016. You can know who has printed what and how much it costs. I know from the IT department they have been printing annually and showing to each staff how much you have printed in a year and how much cost is just against each person. And of course that one brings in a bit of efficiency in terms of management. And I hope it should be currently should be widely used, especially where you have wireless printing, because you cannot print without using your own password or signature. Then it is known who has printed what, when, even which materials that you have been printing. Sometimes that technology is there to determine. Thank you.
Thank you. So the technology are existing, so it's just for us to get use them. So the sugar industry and the most famous plant is TPC. So how can the sugar industry adopt circularity? And so we know, apart from the cultivation, which already Julia has already explained, that we can use regenerative resources to be able to either cultivate the sugar canes. But again, when you are into the production of sugar, there are a number of byproducts that can also come during the sugar production, because you know the product from sugar, it's either brown sugar or white sugar, which we normally use in our offices or in our homes. But again, there are now the byproducts from the sugar production. So one of the byproducts is molasses, and molasses, you know what can be done with the molasses. So instead of it being thrown, molasses can be used to make ethanol. Yeah. And you know ethanol, we can also make something out of ethanol, right? So but the ethanol can also be used for, molasses can also be used for animals, you know, as a feedstock for animal. So again, the bagasse or the cane crush, unaita mabaki ya miwa, walioko Dar es Salaam wanaonaga sana kwa sababu tunakunywa juice ya miwa. So the bagasse can be used to make what? Electricity. So they're now being used in the boiler to make biofuel. So you can now make electricity out of the biogas. So instead of just throwing them, you can use them to make electricity. So it's like you can now pass them to the energy sector to produce a new utility or a new resource. So from the electricity, you can also get the ashes and biochar. So the ashes you can either, so most of the time they've been thrown away, but you can even use to make, you know, bricks. You can use them in the cement mills. You can use them to make like tiles, yeah, pavers and many other things. The ashes, so like they act as binder because they're ash. So they have the binder content. So again, so with by doing that, you can also like prevent the use of fossil fuel, as well as also materials that cannot be regenerated. Like instead of going to a quarry, make new raw material to make cement, you can use the substitute of ashes, you know, content, ash from the sugar industry to reduce the amount of material that you can extract. So the biogas also, which can be made from the sugar industry, can also use to power some of the equipment in the sugar operation. So there is a way of adopting, you know, kind of a circularity also in the production and manufacturing industry, like the sugar industry. So another example is people like A to Z. Is A to Z here? Okay. So or else we can use another example from Coca-Cola, the Bonito bottlers. So they are producing soda, but again they are producing in the process of producing soda, there are waste that's been generated, like wastewater. So what they do with the wastewater, they are using a biological treatment kind of a system to be able to and there is actually there is an anaerobic kind of technology to treat the water, and the water becomes that they can even use now that water for gardening. They can use the water for even fish ponds, and they can even release the water because the water meets the standards of the standard that is required. So also the products like the waste that is being produced from the industry, they can now even use those waste to make new items. Like in one case, the wooden pallets that are being used by the Coca-Cola, and they're broken wooden pallets, they're using the wooden pallets to make furnitures, and they donate those furnitures to schools and many other institutions. So there is a way to adopt the circularity. It's just you have to change your thinking, change the business model, the way you are doing currently, and also, of course, involving the team, using the technology, and many other kind of, input, so that you can be able to achieve the circularity. So we'll go to the workshop, but before workshop, I'm told that there is a presentation on e-waste. Yes, so she will present about e-waste, then we go to the workshop. I think it will be only 2 workshops. Then we wind up. Asante.
Thank you, Alan. Maybe while we are waiting for Madam Esther to set up, you can see also Kilimanjaro International Leather Industries have chosen not to waste this opportunity. They have come with their table there. You can come and you can go later to see their products, and we'll be playing a short video later on of their promotion, but also what they are doing at their plant. Oh, madam, you have a question? Okay. Yeah, we forgot to open the room for questions. Sorry. But we are also going to have a very interactive workshop a few minutes later.
Good afternoon. My name is Renalda Mlai. I'm the CEO and the founder of Rainy Fresh. We deal with the horticulture products, but also I'm an independent consultant, and right now I'm working on the climate change in relation to the food and nutrition security. I think the reason we are here is because of the climate change. Climate change is real. In the past 10 years, talking about zero waste was something of other nations. But now it has come to be very important because we see all these things are impacting us, and it will impact us more. So I really appreciate the presentations from all the presenters. They were very good. But I also want to advise on the collaboration. The reason we are here, the private and public sector, is because of collaboration and learning from each other, and not competing or finger pointing one another. For such events, we do always wish to have like an assignment. What are we going to do after here until next year when we meet maybe at Arumeru district? And I would wish us to have something very small and which is very applicable. And this is going back to the roots. Collecting garbage and taking them to the garbage centers and asking those people to sort them is like taking medicines because we can access dialysis technology. What is expensive? Doing a dialysis or detoxifying your body. So I think it is very, very cheap to teach our children, and actually it is very fun for children to teach them to sort beans. I started it at my place, and now my entire family, I mean the siblings, we are about 7 families, they have copied it. It's just a matter of having like 2 or 3 beans, and then you sort them. And I really want to applaud Moshi Municipal for the cleanness initiative they have been having. So maybe I could throw this to them that now they have to go back to their community and motivate them to separate garbage. The good thing about Mosh is that they have space, so you don't need to collect food to go to the garbage collecting center. You can make the manure to be used by the community itself. So that's number 1, which I would like to advise the public sector. Number 2 is about reduction of the water bottles we are using. I'd wish to see at least one municipal to have the safe drinking points whereby people can go and drink the water from the tap. And this is just a technology of ensuring that we have the clean water. Now the beauty about Moshi, again, the water is coming from the springs of Mount Kilimanjaro, and that's the project we are working on. So it's very, I won't say it's very cheap, but it is workable for them to have like clean drinking water in some of, to have the stations. Now in this way, we'll be reducing the need for people to have these water bottles everywhere, and then in that case we'll be addressing the reduction of waste. Another thing, I was so impressed by the presentation from Julia on agriculture, and I would really like the government and other stakeholders to really motivate the agroforest. I was talking to this gentleman to see if he could be my partner on the project I'm working on. It's really important to cover our soil, because if you don't cover our soil, we don't have rain. And if you don't have rain, then we have a lot of other issues that we'll be facing in the future. So that is my small contribution, and thank you very much.
Asante sana. So I think Mama was going ahead to the winding part, but it's okay. Yeah. Karibu, Madam Esther.
No, is it good morning or good afternoon? Good afternoon, everybody. So my name is Esther. I'm Esther Mengi. I'm the CEO of Serensic Africa. We are a technology company dealing with IT. So yesterday when I was speaking to EABC and they told me they had a workshop, they told me that it would be good to hear about zero waste and the impact it has on technology. So jumping straight into it, how many of us have phones? And how many of us have access to internet, to not internet, to desktops or laptops? So I would say each one of us would have access to one or two devices at some point, yeah? And in our lifetime, we have seen technology come and go. So we have evolved from using such big phones to smaller phones, now to smartphones. So I've seen all those kind of things just transforming in the blink of an eye, yeah? So how many of us still have those old devices? Your old phones from the time you started buying phones? One. Oh, Madam there is very, very good at keeping stuff. But most of us don't have them. Yeah? Where are they? Do we know where they are? Where are they? Relatives and friends. Yeah, but then those people will give to other people and then they won't function anymore and they'll just keep them or throw them away. So I'm going to present on e-waste management in Tanzania. So e-waste management stands for electronic waste. E-waste is electronic waste. So e-waste is anything that uses electricity or electrical power to perform its function, but it's no longer working or needed. So it has become a waste. It uses electricity, our laptops, our phones. It no longer works or it's no longer needed. It becomes a waste. Yeah? I'm sure most of us have never thought of that way. Yeah? Okay, so my device can become a waste. Yeah, it is an electronic waste. So as you can see from the picture, it's a bit blurry because of the lighting, but that's accumulation of devices. So many old devices just dumped in one place. So what is zero waste? I'm sure Madam Julia and Injida have already said about zero waste, so I'm not going to take much time into that. But I just want to add, yeah, it's that circle of making sure that something is reusable over and over again, yeah, so that we don't waste it. So what are the categories of e-wastes? So we have home appliances, like kama friji zetu, pasi. Our fridges get malfunction from time to time and we just keep them or we just throw them away in the backyard, yeah? Then we have information technology equipments like laptops and phones. And then we have cables, TVs, scanners, lamps, and so on. So all these things become waste. I was reading an article this morning from The Citizen. So they are interviewing people on e-waste. Like, how do you manage your waste, your e-waste? So one guy from Mwanza said he was so excited to get a new phone. He was using the small phone for years. It had cracks, he had sealed with sellotapes all over. So he was excited to get a new phone. Once he got a Techno smartphone, he threw that little phone in the window when he was in the bus. Because he was so excited, so he had to just throw the phone out of the bus, like, to hell with that one, have a new one. But now I would like you to think of the impact that action would have on the environment. So the battery of that phone is made from lithium. Lithium, if it's not properly managed, could be very poisonous and could be dangerous to the society, causing pollution or even cancer. So that's why from time to time when we see our kids playing with batteries, we tell them, don't eat that, it's poisonous, because of that. It has lithium. So it can't be just being thrown around carelessly. Apart from that, our phones are made of different components. Yeah, we have copper in our phones, there's gold, there's iron, so many components that can be recycled. We can recycle copper, we can recycle the gold, the iron from our phone, so we don't have to throw them away. But currently, there is no action plan on how to recycle electronics. When you go to Kariakoo, there's a street called Agre, Mtawa Agre. There are so many fundis there. Even if a phone is out today, they can fix it. But they don't have the education to fix the phone. They are very skillful when it comes to their hands, yeah, and their knowledge. What if we impart those people with knowledge transfer and teach them how to recycle the small components they find in the broken phones? We'll have another China in Kariakoo. I guarantee you that. We can have another China in Kariakoo to assemble those parts and make something reusable that can bring money to the country or to the people and employment. So what are the effects of e-waste? Respiratory problems, oxidative stress, DNA damage, and possibly causing cancer. Meaning, if we just throw the electronic waste randomly without paying attention to where we're throwing it, it's one of the causes of cancer. So when, let's say, the fluid from the batteries leaks and get into water or into something edible, it can cause death, meaning cancer. So the composition of e-waste, the average composition of electronic waste is as follows. We have iron and steel at 50%, plastics at 21%, non-ferrous like non-iron 13%, and others 16%. Fortunately, these are identifiable and removable. So if someone cracks their phone today, they can see different components made of copper, gold, iron, and so much more. These things can be refurbished and reused for other purposes. So e-waste management in Tanzania. How do we manage our waste in Tanzania? Tanzania is one of the countries in Africa that is facing a growing challenge of electronic waste management. The country is estimated to generate around 10,000 tons of e-waste every year, and that is expected to grow. So imagine 10,000 tons of electronic waste. Yeah? Most of this e-waste is generated in urban areas where there's higher concentration of electronic devices. So the majority of this e-waste is handled in informal sector. Let's say today my phone is broken, I don't know how to fix it. I take it to a fundi, a technician, and ask them, how much can I sell it to you for? And they'll tell me 2,000, 10,000, and I'll just give them, or sometimes we'll just give them. But if your phone is broken and there was a formal way of collecting that waste, meaning there's a place you can take your electronic waste, your device that has malfunctioned or you're no longer using, and they could sort out, let's say the screen, put them on one side. The chargers, put them on the other side. The motherboard inside and the elements inside on the other side will have created so many other more job opportunities and saved the environment. Policies to combat e-waste. So Tanzania, currently, we have no specific policy or regulation related to e-waste management. However, there are a number of policies and regulations which aim to protect the environment and human health. So it's about time we start having such discussions. How can we have a policy on managing e-waste? Yeah? Because most of us, as we have seen, most of us here have access to electronics. We have 2, 3, 4, even 5 electronic devices in our homes. So if those malfunction, how do we manage that? Yeah? How do we create zero waste? So it's about time, because we're all here, we have the decision makers, let's start engaging in such discussions. That how do we create zero waste in regards to electronic waste? So the improper disposal of this electronic e-waste can have serious environmental and health consequences, including soil and water pollution, air pollution, toxic exposure to humans and wildlife. In this context, the principle of zero waste offers a sustainable and holistic approach to e-waste management. Yeah? So the solution to e-waste management is zero waste. So let's come and together crack our heads and think, how do we move forward in this zero waste arena into concentrating more in electric waste? Yeah? Anyone with a question? Question, anyone? Comment? Am I clearly understood? Yeah, thank you. So I'm going to just conclude and say e-waste management is a growing challenge in Tanzania, but it also presents an opportunity to promote sustainable and holistic approaches to waste management, meaning this is a new area for people to focus on and create more job opportunities. Yeah? Because imagine if you can extract copper from a phone, gold from phones. From all of us here, if someone just would take the phone that malfunctioned years ago, our iron box, our TVs, and just extract the gold or copper, that person will be a billionaire in an amount of time, yeah? So thank you so much for your time, and this is all I had to say. Thank you.
Asante sana, Madam Esther. So let's take the opportunity to stand up a bit and stretch. You know, you need our blood to circulate. We don't want to waste our blood. So we something like that, eh? Those claps, we clap for ourselves. So we are going to Pasha, then we are going to do 5 claps, 4 claps, 3, 2, and then 1. So let's start with that Pasha ring. So we Pasha. Okay. 1. So if I say 1, you clap 5 times, then you go on in that order up to 1. Okay, so we Pasha again because we distorted. Okay, you can do it for me. Mr. Omari, it seems.
Okay, this is how we do it. When we say 1, we do 5. 2, 4. 3, 3. 4, 2. And then 5, 1. Okay, let's do it.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Omari. So I think we are going to have a very brief session on how we are going to do our workshop, because this is going to help us to come with key takeaways. Actually, I'm very interested. Maybe I think one of the proposals out of this meeting should be Azania Bank Arusha. Maybe you can be paperless in the next 6 months. Who knows? You can start to be paperless. We come to the bank, we go out, everything is in our phone. Even the money if possible. So okay, you have a question? Sawa, karibu.
presentation superb, and we are trying now to see other ventures and become more entrepreneurs. And I'm happy that the bank is here with us. I think it's going to give us more opportunities to grow as well. Sasa Madam Esther, presentation ya West ni nzuri, na mimi naona kama kuna fursa kubwa katika kuexploit hayo madini kuliko kufundisha. Sasa natamani kufahamu kampuni yako au wewe binafsi mmejipangaje kwenye kuextract these minerals rather than naona kuna fursa na hela nyingi kama ulivyosema, you want to be a billionaire, na nafikiri it begins with you. Na it is going to inspire us more, because I was just taking care of myself, using collect a lot of waste in my house. Na mwezeshaji nafikiri next time tuwaalike watu wa viwanda, biashara na uwekezaji, wanayo program inaitwa Kaizen philosophy ambayo automatically inadili na waste. Lakini la pili, nimefurahi kuona wenzangu wa serikali tuwaalike mazingira na usafishaji. Lakini pia awamu ya 6 ya Samia imetengeneza mustakabali mzuri tu. Kuna idara mpya ya viwanda, biashara na uwekezaji. Hawa ni wadau wakubwa kabisa kutengeneza takataka. Na nimefurahi kumuona jamaa yangu wa Kilimanjaro International, wao wamejaribu kufanya. Lakini kumbuka Business Council kama platform imetufungulia fursa. Lakini tunahitaji more stakeholders ambao ni serikali, ni nambari 1, tuweze kuvuka pamoja. Lakini la mwisho, wananchi. Mimi naamini huku tulipo wengi tunaamini wanajua, hawa watu hawaelewi, hawajui. Tuendeleze sensitization sana, watu waweze kutenga hizo taka, waweze kujipanga, ili zoezi likiwa shiriki na nafurahi. Lakini sisi jamii majorities citizen huku wanafanya hivyo. Kwa hiyo karibu dada Esther, na nafurahi kwa tabasamu. Asante sana.
Yaani nilikuwa natamani leo ningekuwa na siku 5 ya kuongelea kuhusu electronic waste, kwa sababu ni eneo pana sana lenye vitu vingi zaidi. Naweza nikatolea mfano, disposing laptop kama hii inachukua process kadhaa. Cha kwanza, lazima udestroy data iliyoko huko ndani. Kwa nini? Ukidispose hii laptop na data iliyoko huku, ikienda kwenye mikono ambayo si salama, mtu anaweza kaitumia kitofauti. Hata simu yako, wakati unaidispose, unahakikisha kwamba umefuta kila kitu, na sio kufuta tu juu juu. Yaani tunasema data destruction. You have to make sure the data is broken down in bits and pieces, in zeros and ones that cannot be reconstructed again. Yeah. So when I'm disposing my laptop, we have to in my company, what to do, especially we had a client who was upgrading their laptops. They had used them for 10 years. They have a lifetime of 10, 12 years. So every after 12 years, they get not just deleting partially, just full cleansing the laptop, destroying all the data that's in the laptops. Why? So that the other people who are getting the laptops will not have access to the data that was previously in the laptops. Because we used our laptops for so many key things, emails, yeah, all our information, our intellectual knowledge is in our laptops. So what if it falls into the wrong hands? So there's that. So when you're destroying waste, when you're recycling e-waste, there are so many other steps to be followed. Yeah. So if we have another engagement like this, I would love to have more, to explain more on this one. Yeah. Because it's a very, very broad area, and there's so many things that need to be done. especially from us and from other stakeholders and the government as well. We have to come up and form a policy that's beneficial for the entire country on how to dispose and reuse electronic waste. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for that. So I know we are about to stand between you and your lunch, but let me pass the mic to our facilitators. You have a question? Oh, okay.
Thank you, Frank. My name is Moses. I work with EABC, and I work in the section of SMEs, youth and women, where we encourage them to start business and we train them capacity building. And for us, we are looking at waste in the entrepreneur lens, like waste can be wealth. I loved what my sister said about municipals, especially if we want to encourage safe drinking water. Among our members, we have young youth who have come up with innovation. They have filters. And what they do is they want source of water, whether clean, whether dirty, but that technology can turn that water into safe drinking water. And what they need is like now a space. Let's say we say in Mosh, we look at a congested place. Let's say where we are cleaning yesterday. They set up a tank, they put up their filters, and now the water becomes safe. What they need is someone, you come with a glass, you open, you drink at a cheap and affordable price. And I think from here I will be looking at how we can talk with municipal so that in each municipals they can put those water. In sorting waste, let's say dry and wet, is there any way we can work with leading pharmaceuticals? We start within, let's say in Tanzania, and we say, let those pharmacies provide free dustbins, since we buy a lot from them, and let's say each household has like 2 dustbins so that we can sort and we can tell our house reps that this is for food, this is for dry. Thank you.
Okay, thank you for the contribution, Moses. So back to you, Julia.
Yeah, thank you very much. So we will try to keep this short because we know we're already over time. So what we would like to do is we would like to ask you to create 3 groups. One group, we can create this group around this table, is for the service industry. So everybody who's interested in the service industry should be sitting here. Another group at this table in the middle is for agriculture. So anybody interested in agriculture should be sitting on this table. And then we'll have another group at the left far end there for manufacturing. So if I could just briefly ask you to stand up and join whichever table you feel most affiliated with. So services here, so for example banking is a service, yeah. Then we have yes, please just stand up and go to the table, and then we will provide you with the instructions. Yeah, just pull the chairs, yeah, because the exercise will take like 30 minutes. Yeah, so just pull your chairs. Okay, service industry here, then agriculture. manufacturing here on this side, okay? Here. Manufacturing on this table in the end. Yeah, please go to the behind table. Okay, great. So what we're going to do, we will just show you basically a method, and you will take this back to your companies and do that very thoroughly with your teams in order for you to really, you know, mitigate reuse and recycle, as we said initially. We will do a partial review, okay? So the first exercise is we want you to think about where do you create waste, okay? So think about your how you usually commonly provide service, okay? If it's about agriculture, it's like how does your na nini to the time unavuna na unauza sokoni, okay? You have raw materials that you import or that you get from somewhere. Then you manufacture, you then distribute, and you sell either whole or retail. Effective value or manufacturing or service chain. So just pick one point. So for example, in agriculture, if it's horticulture, so maybe this is something you can pick. You can say, okay, what are we losing? Why are we losing? Okay. So process, what is it? What is the type of waste, for example, that you're creating within the manufacturing process? So pick one of those elements where in your chain of manufacturing, within your chain of agricultural processing, that you are producing, okay, in a group. So just agree what you think you should be focusing on right now, and just pick, okay, what is the type of waste you're producing at this particular point within your value chain, okay? And Janine and I will be working around to support you.
So you need to agree, because here there is a banking sector, and then there's a, so you need to agree. You are focused on the banking service, or you are focused on other services. So if it's a banking service, then you look at it from the whole chain. Yeah. So then you can identify a sustainability challenge you have in the banking industry. So what needs to be done. Yeah. So even in manufacturing, you agree. Kama mnafanya mambo ya soda production au sugar au